Okay, we're going to begin our talk about squares and square roots. Hopefully you will find that squares and square roots, the meaning of them and the models of them, they make just so much sense. Hopefully you'll find that out too. So, what is the square of a number? It is the product of a number times itself. So, for example, 5 squared is 5 times 5. 3 squared is 3 times 3. Obviously that works with any number. 10 squared, 10 times 10. 9 squared, 9 times 9. 25 squared is 25 times 25. It doesn't matter how big the number is or how small. Squared means you multiply it times itself. One of the most common mistakes is you see the 5 and you see the 2. It's very easy to want to multiply 5 times 2. Please do not do that. This is one of the most common mistakes made. If it meant 5 times 2, it would look like 5 times 2, but that's not what it looks like. This is an exponent. It's a really small number and it's elevated. It's written up high, which means it means something different. It looks different, so you need to assume that it means something different. And it does. It means the number times itself. Okay? The square root. What is the square root of a number? The square root are those two factors multiplied to make those perfect squares. For example, the square root of 81 is 9, because 9 times 9 is 81. The square root of 64 is 8. 8 is your base number, because 8 times 8 is 64. So up here, 5 squared, 5 times 5 is 25, so the square root of 25 is 5, back to our base number. This right here is the square root symbol. Looks kind of like a division sign, but it's got this check mark looking thing in front of it. This is your square root symbol. Whenever you see that, you need to figure out what number times itself makes this number underneath the square root symbol. Square root models. Well, the key word there is square. If you're trying to make the model of a square root or a square, you draw a square. For example, 4 squared means you want a square with 4 rows and 4 columns. The side length is 4. So when you have this square, 4 times 4 is 16. Notice you have 16 individual squares to make up your area. This is your area of the square. Your area of the square can be represented 2 ways. 4 squared, which we see here, 4 squared, 4 times 4, or 16, because 4 squared is 16. The side length of that square can be represented 2 different ways as well. The square root of 16 or 4, because square root of 16 is 4. Notice how they all fit together. Here is a non-example of a square model. I've got 5 squared here, and like I was saying earlier, the most common mistake made is wanting to take 5 times 2. 5 times 2. This isn't even a square, guys. This is a rectangle. So it can't be a square model if it's not a square. This right here, this model means 5 times 2, not 5 times 5. So please be very careful when you see these types of models. Here are some more examples of square models. It doesn't necessarily have to be made up by blocks. It could just be a drawing. As long as it has 3 and 3, it is still a square model. This one right here is just an actual square with no insides drawn, but it is labeled 6 and 6, which means 6 squared. And here is back to our original type of model, 2 squared, which is 2 times 2. Here is a square model. It is 5 squared. Side length is 5, or the square root of 25. That is how we represent our side length, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The square root of 25 is 5. That is our side length. Our area, 5 squared, because 5 times 5 is 25. If you count all these individual squares in the area, you will count and it will make 25. so the area is represented by 5 squared or 25. So in summary, the square of a number is a number times itself. The product represents the area of that square. There's a key word there, product, the answer to a multiplication question. The square root of the area is one of the factors. Factor is another key word. Factor means something that you are multiplying, which represents the side length. Square models are always perfect squares.